Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, The Inked Reader. So usually I don't sound this way. I was very sick lately and I had a massive cold, and now the cold has traveled from my nose, which is better because it was just gross filming while my nose was that red and that sore. But now it's traveled down my throat, and so now I sound very weird when I speak. So I wanted though to film this because I'm about to leave in 10 days for the holiday and I won't be back until January, and I have accumulated throughout the year enough book to warrant a book haul, and because of what's happening next year I need to put these books on my shelves. I'm gonna put out very soon what's happening next year. This is kind of a big book haul, but it's actually my only book haul for all the year. So these are all the books I've acquired that I can remember, I think in 2021. So considering that, I actually have just a decent amount of books, but I didn't overdo it. Definitely improved since I started working full-time. So I'm not sure I'm gonna structure this because I got some Fairyloot, I got some actual boxes, I got plenty that are just randomly on the floor. So bear with me, we go through all of that. I'll try to separate them in Fairyloot, random books, and then the unboxing for last, okay? So let's start with the Fairyloot books. I am not gonna go in any order. So I have got 3 from boxes, monthly boxes, but of course so I have a couple of special editions. First one, this is from the October book box, Faryloot, and this is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber, which is the start of a new YA series that has some recurring characters with the Caraval series, which I've not read yet. It's a stunning book. So far probably my favorite. I mean, it's hard to choose, but I love the aesthetic of this book so much, and I have already read these, enjoyed these. It's part of my wrap-up in November wrap-up, I believe, so you can go and check out the synopsis and everything there. Since I've just spoken about these, I'm not going to repeat myself, but stunning book. And for the books that come with the boxes, I do unboxing on my channel, so I do close-up so you can see better the aesthetic of the book if you're interested. I have the pick for, this was my actually first book that I got with Fairyloot, and was the August or September, it was the September box. I'll turn around the cover because I liked it more, and these would be the Defy the Night by Bridget Kemmerer. I should stop saying the names because I'm butchering them, and I just said I was not gonna do it again. So again, this is another book that I have already read. Didn't enjoy this so much, and I think this is part of my September or October, sorry, wrap up. So again, I'm not gonna give you a synopsis, but it's a YA start of a new series. She wrote A Curse, Lonely, blah blah blah. So she's a kind of popular, recently become popular YA author, and this is start of a new series by her. And again, I turned the cover just because I didn't really like the main one, but I loved the back cover. So yeah, this is Defy the Night. And then the other book, and the last book I got so far, so I've just had 3 books in the boxes, was Jade, Fire and Gold. I am currently reading this, and again, I absolutely love the aesthetic of these. The stunning book that you have underneath, it's just plain, but then you've got the, and I'm planning probably to turn this around as well, the inside out, so I'm probably gonna display these this way. And I'm gonna avoid giving a synopsis of these. Again, I talked about these in my December TBR, and I will talk about the synopsis in my December wrap-up, so I don't want to be too repetitive in here. Now, special editions instead that I got when I basically started discovering and getting to Fairyloot, before, when I was still in the waiting list for actually getting the monthly boxes, I was still keeping an eye out for beautiful editions. I had by Fairyloot the special edition of Raybearer, so I of course grabbed the sequel. I've not read Raybearer yet, and this is Redemptor, and this is signed, I believe. It's an exclusive edition, and I got palette, beautiful matching edition of a small paperback. It's kind of small. Inside there is nothing special, but I love the sprayed edges and I don't know anything about the second book because I don't know anything about the first book to begin with, because I've not yet read, but it's a YA fantasy, of course, Fairyloot, that's what it's all about, and I am looking forward to start the series. I heard amazing things about the series, so I was very glad to actually acquire the second book, which usually I don't do, but I didn't want to miss out matching covers for this, just in case I end up loving it and then kind of beating myself up for not going ahead and bought the second one. And then finally the other special edition I had from Faryloot. It's a Fairyloot edition of a second book in a series that I don't have the first matching edition, which is super annoying. But listen, when I saw this, I was like, I don't care, I'm gonna get my hands on the sequel, second edition. It's like stunning. And this is the Hollow Heart, and there is not this jacket, which I don't mind at all. Like all of this, it's perfection. It's signed. This is the sequel of the Midnight Lie, I believe, and it's an exclusive edition with just stunning. It's stunning. Speaking of special edition, I got from Forbidden Planet, because I tried on Waterstone and it was sold out. So I found it on Forbidden Planet, the Invisible Life of Adi LaRue. This is the anniversary edition and it's illustrated. This is a book I listened to on audio back in the days when it came out, and I never acquired a copy, but I really liked the book, and so I always wanted to acquire a copy. And then the special edition came out and it was Destiny, and I grabbed it immediately, and I think it's fully illustrated. And can we appreciate, and I'm gonna just show you, I don't want to spoil it for people that, you know, maybe they might want to acquire it, and so I'm just gonna show you some of the drawings inside. But there are drawings throughout, there are full colored pages. Okay, so I cannot do better than this. I really don't want to do anything that can potentially ruin this book, which is perfection. Love it. I will definitely read it. This is a book that I do want to read physically and tab, because I do appreciate audiobooks, but it's always different when you read the physical copy, in the sense that you can tab and grasp more by reading the physical book, personally at least. So I will continue listening to audiobooks, of course, but I always like to have a physical copy of books that I particularly love as audiobooks. So yeah, the special edition, and I am in love with this. One of the best purchases ever, and to be fair, to be like a special edition, it wasn't even that expensive. So yeah, pleased about these. Then you know that I'm actually very peculiar when it comes down to my edition. I like to have matching editions, as many book collectors do, and I would usually be absolutely distraught about the idea of having a quartet of books and each one of them looking different. However, in this case, I am not mad. I started to collect the Shadow of the Wind series back in 2016-17. Shadow of the Wind became one of my favorite books ever, and I kept collecting the sequels in the story without realizing that each book that I was collecting was a different edition. So when it came down now to acquire the last book in the quartet, I found this beautiful edition on Wordery, I believe it was Wordery, and I was like, listen, the first three books do not match anyway. So how about for the fourth book you go with another edition that matches none of the ones yet before, but it's a thing now, because I got a quartet and they all look very different, and I'm okay with that. So I acquired the Labyrinth of the Spirits, and this is stunning. To be fair, like, I don't mind, because this edition is probably my favorite of all the other three editions that I have. It's kind of big to be a paperback, but it's very lengthy. All the other in the series are not that lengthy, apart from maybe the first one. And I'm in love with this. Like, it's so gorgeous. Like, honestly, I don't mind. Like, I'm gonna keep these. I would never sort these if I find like matching editions. I love this. The Shadow of the Wind, the first book, is about this boy who becomes obsessed by the fate of this author that wrote a very weird, whimsical and dark book, and then disappeared in mysterious circumstances. And you follow this boy kind of trying to piece together what happened to this author, what is this connection with this author, and from there you go on this hunt in, it's kind of historical fiction, so in these 1940s, just post World War II, if I'm not mistaken, Barcelona, and the atmosphere, the writing, it's stellar. Do you need to read the rest of the series? I still debating. Like, I loved Shadow of the Wind, wasn't so sold on the second and third one. This will seal the deal, but again, I'm happy that I got all the books in the series and I got such stunning editions for them. Mentioned previously in one of my wrap-ups that I had a goal to read more graphic novel and manga this year, and I failed miserably at that. I actually read a total of 4 graphic novels and manga combined in all the year, so stay tuned because next year gonna change. But the only 3-4 things that I have acquired then, because I just didn't read them that much, are the following. So the only one that I actually acquired and read already was The Sister Waiter Brothers by Jen Campbell. She's an author, but she's also a booktuber. Link her channel down below. I acquired this just before Halloween and read it the night before Halloween night. And this is a middle grade collection of short stories, and she retells them taking inspiration from local, all over the world myth and stories. And I love this, and I don't want to spoil anything else about the drawings, just because I think this is a book to just get on the sofa with a hot chocolate or a hot tea and just be all snuggly and just read this in an hour. It was an amazing experience, and again, I'm going to reread this book once in a while. It's just great. Then a very recent, I think in December I bought this, which is Lore Olympus Volume 1. I didn't know this used to be a webtoon, so you could read these online for free. Never knew that, but I already acquired the first volume, and I'm so pleased with that. So this is the art inside, and this smells amazing. I'm so looking forward to actually read these on the Persephone and Ade story. So I love Greek mythology, and I tend to love or be fascinated or reach out for anything that has to do with Greek mythology, which absolutely I'm such a fan of. So I'm gonna read this very soon, and I really hope I'm gonna love this. Even the art, the smell of this, yes, happy about these. And the last 2 graphic novels that I had acquired kind of recently, but I have yet to read are The Witch Boy. I'm going to show you some of the art, which I don't know anything about this, but I think it's about this boy who is born in a magic family, but basically the boys, they become shapeshifters and the girls tend to become witches, and instead he cannot shapeshift, but is particularly skilled at magic or something of the sort. So yeah, looking forward to his amazing things about this. And the art, I love this kind of style, so I will probably love this. And then finally I got Fangs, which is a very short and stunning looking graphic novel. It's a love story, I believe, between a vampire and a werewolf. I'm going to show you some of the art a bit better, not maybe anything spoilery. And I think it's kind of a very quiet graphic novel, but it has received a lot of praises as of recently. And I mean, it's just that I love graphic novels. I don't know what happened to me this year, okay? I apologize. I even apologize to myself because I love them so much. And I had just not read them this year, which sucks. But I'll do better next year. That's a promise. Then I have The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse. This is a middle grade children book, and I don't know anything about the synopsis of this, and I don't want to know anything about the synopsis of this. I've heard so many people talking about how this story touched them deeply and how that changed them, and it's mostly drawing. And I saw this when I was out shopping one day, and I was like, listen, it was £10. I had seen this book bouncing all over booktube, and I was like, I need to get my hands on it. Sounds like I'm gonna cry, and that's it. One day when I was like, today I wanna cry, I'm gonna try and grab this. And on the same trip, I actually bought The Dark Powers of Tolkien, and this is basically kind of an anthology that speaks about the dark forces that are present in the Lord of the Rings series. So it's, I don't know, it's like I'm usually intrigued by kind of these books, plus the aesthetic of these books is full of colors. I've not been in this world for so long, so I'm gonna plan to read these, go through these, and maybe do like a Lord of the Rings marathon again. It's been ages since I watched this, and I couldn't pass this on. Loved it. And then another book I'm currently reading, this is Bloody Rose, which is the sequel slash companion to Kings of the Wild. So this takes place a few years after the events of Kings of the Wild, and you got different main characters. But in the first one, Kings of the Wild, you follow this bunch of mercenaries that have now separated, and they are kind of retired from their famous days, and they're all scattered all over the place. One day, one of them tries to put the band back together to go on one final mission to save his daughter, who is in a lot of trouble, and there is a horde of monsters coming. And I absolutely love Kings of the Wild, 5 stars. It's in my October wrap-up, so you can check out my reviews, and it's one of the few books that I had to acquire the sequel and starting reading it immediately. I didn't know this was a companion, so I did not know this was following different main characters. I would have probably taken more of a break if I knew. Nothing against it, plus I did not finish it, so I'm not going to judge a book by just half of it. But Kings of the Wild, it's famous for a reason, and I am actually very pleased with these covers. I used to go a lot in charity shops, buy a lot of my books in charity shops, but COVID, and I moved away from the city centre where I used to live, so I don't have a charity shop on a walking distance anymore. So I actually ended up doing just one trip this year, but I came home with a few books and I'm happy about all of them. The first book that I found in that charity shop was Inimini. This is a thriller crime book that I've seen around BookTube a few years ago, I believe. And I am not sure though if this is the first book in the series or if it's actually like second, third or whatever book in the series. So I'm gonna check out my Goodreads just to make sure. But I think it's about this girl that was abducted, came out of the woods with a very incredible and terrifying story where someone was abducting girls and basically making them choose between being killed or kill somebody else. And then there is a detective involved that she has to solve the crime and capture that guy, I believe. I'm gonna get more information about what number in the series this is. I know it's part of a series though. I hope I'm right. Then I found Memories of a Geisha, and this is a movie that I watched and enjoyed many years ago, but I don't remember anything about the movie now. And I knew it was based on a book, and I've seen this book actually around when I visit the charity shops, but I never found an edition that I really liked. And I don't know, I think back then I was less interested. I'm more interested now than back in the days to actually digest the story in a book format, because back then it was like, oh no, I watched the movie, I'm never gonna read the story. Now I'm more flexible. I guess with aging, wisdom comes a tiny bit more, and so I'm gonna go through this and visit the story of this girl that she becomes a geisha. And I don't know anything about geisha in general or how the culture or what is the context and the culture behind this, so I'm hoping that I'll get everything from these, or I mean at least as much as possible. Then I found one that I was very excited about, and this is The Head Full of Ghosts. I had seen this book going around in a lot of October wrap-ups for a lot of booktubers that I follow and I really like usually their tastes, and I've heard amazing things about this. This is about this girl that her parents basically contact a priest after having like mental health illness. I think she is schizophrenic, or they think she's schizophrenic. So they ask for the help of this priest, and somehow she becomes the main character in a reality TV show. And 15 years later, you follow a guy who's putting back together the story of what happened back in the days, and he's interviewing her sister to get the story out. And I don't know anything else, but it sounds like a very fucking bad idea, making a TV show or reality TV show out of someone who's having a mental breakdown. Very poor taste, but I'm curious to see how this will go, and hopefully I will love this as much as other people I trust and follow did. Then I have actually bought a classic from a charity shop, which I would usually never do, but I had read another Dostoevsky before and I really enjoyed it, and so I saw this and I looked at the review and I was like, I'm actually intrigued by this. And this is a story of these 3 brothers, actually 4 brothers. One is a stepbrother, the other is an illegitimate brother, and they have now all of a sudden to deal with the murder of their father, and I think some of them potentially are even suspects in the death of the father. So it's a family drama, for what I gather, about these 3 plus 1 brother They're all very different, and I guess they all have their reasons for killing their father, or they want to find out who killed their father, or something of the sort. Again, the synopsis is very vague. It just tells me more about each kind of inclination of single brother. Like, you know, we got the intellectual one, you got the one who's more sensualist, that's apparently a thing, the spiritual one, and then you got the shadowy half brother. So I did read him before, I believe, and I had enjoyed the way he wrote, especially because he writes such big books. So I'm looking forward to actually reading these, and I decided that I definitely want to acquire and read more classics. It's not gonna become a trend on my channel, but if I can, I'll try to put some effort in it. Then I found The Devil's Star, which is book number 4 in the Harry Hole series by Joe Nesbo. I have read just in November, wrapped it up. The second book in the series. This is like a companion book series where you follow Harry Hole investigating and resolving crimes. And so far it's around a 3.5 series for me, the first 2 books, but very lovely subscribers let me know that the books have a reputation for getting better and better, so I'm gonna keep going. And if I found, you know, a book for 50 cents in good conditions, I don't really care at this point in time that my editions match. I will be on the hunt for the 3rd book because this is the 4th. So I've got one missing now. And then I've got memoir, which is The Color of Water, and this is basically the story of this white woman that adopts this black child, and I think he is the author of this. And it says in the synopsis that it's a dual perspective, so it might be that his point of view and his mum point of view of experience of growing up, adopted, and adapting to his new environment. And I think a lot of important topics are gonna brought up, and this, I mean, from the stellar reviews and Goodreads, I was very curious to read these and very happy that I found it in a good condition in the charity shop. And then I've got my first Isabel Allende, which is Daughter of Fortune, and if I'm not mistaken, this is the first book in a trilogy. And then The House of Spirits, which is a very famous book by her, it's a sequel to this. I hope I'm not mistaken. And this is the story of this girl. She is found abandoned on a doorstep, and then this lady that she holds house for her 2 brothers decides to take her in and raise her as a proper English lady, but she's not having it, and she falls in love when she's 16 with this guy who's traveling to America from Chile, I believe, to find his fortune. And she decides to stow away on her uncle's ship and go on an adventure and find this guy. And I think a lot of things are gonna happen. It's a historical fiction. Isabel Allende's got a big reputation. My mom loves her books, and I never picked up one, which is shame on me. So it's about time. Found this in charity shop, and it's just like, I need to read these. And when I found out Goodreads that was the first book actually in a trilogy, it's just like, that's just destiny, perfect. I found the first book. Then a book that I'm actually currently reading, which is Know My Name. This is the story of Chanel, the author. She was a victim of a Stanford sexual assault, and she is now telling her story and her experience of going through the trials and everything that came with it. And you start from the assault, the night of the assault, and then you go forward. So I'm not even halfway through this, and so far I'm loving the writing. And again, I'm tabbing these, and it's a very important story that I was actually very familiar with. I didn't know about the Stanford sexual assault case, so for me it's all new. She was in a known face, someone I knew already her story, so I'm discovering everything now through her own words. This is very hard to read though, so I'm taking my time with it. It's definitely not an easy read, but it's an important read. And then another book that I finished, and this is The King of Crows by Libba Bray. This is the last book in a quartet. The first one is The Diviners, and I'm not gonna go into the synopsis because I just went and discussed it in the November wrap-up. Disappointing last book in the series. However, I want to keep the series, but I have, for my other 3 books, the Australian paperback edition, and I'm waiting for this book to come up in the smaller Australian paperback edition. So then I'm gonna keep these until that one come up, and then I'm gonna just sell probably these or donate these and get my final matching book in the series. Then I have some books I acquired from the Disco World Emporium, which is a British local shop, and they basically, I'm going through the Disco War series. I'm finishing the whole series this year. I'm going to do a whole video about it in 2022 to review it and explain it and blah blah. And I had to acquire 4 books though to finish that TBR vet reading challenge basically. So I've got a couple of books in the Tiffany Aching series, which is I Shall Wear Midnight, and The Shepherd's Crown. I'm currently making my way through this, which is the last book in the sub-series and the last book ever in the Disco World series. There are some short stories in between, but the official books, this is number 41 and the official last book before the author passed away. And I got Snuff, and this is the last book in the City Guard sub-series. I love these editions, however they're very delicate. Like, you have to like read them with gloves on, and unfortunately like the corner always get ruined for how much I am careful with them. And then I got Raising Steam, which is book number 3 in the Moist One Lipwick trilogy, and it's also the last one in the trilogy. So yeah, loving these stunning covers. Sorry, I just had a fitting cough. I was in fun at all, so that's why my eyes are lucid. I almost choked. I'm fine. All These Bodies by Kandera Blake, her latest novel, if I'm not mistaken, and I think a standalone, and it's about, I think it's a thriller mystery, and you have this girl that she's found near a dead body covered in blood, and she is clearly now the first, the main suspect in the crime, and she refuses to say what happened, apart from an aspiring journalist who happens to be the sheriff's son, and we don't know why she chooses him to tell her story, but I guess we're gonna find out what happened to the body, who she is, and blah blah blah. I don't know if it's got a supernatural element or it's just a thriller. I don't know, I'm gonna find out. I usually like Kandera Blake writing, so I have We Are the Dead, and this is the first book in a series, fantasy series, and I believe from the synopsis it just said the war is over, the enemy has won. And I think our protagonist, she's kind of basically part of the people that have been defeated. So she's one of the defeated, and she somehow survived this war, and she becomes part of this now plot of survivors that want to take over the throne again. And I bought this because of the review that I'd received, and I was also kind of missing reading epic fantasies, and yeah, I'm gonna try this out and give you probably a better synopsis once I have. Then I have Becoming by Michelle Obama. I acquired this because it was one of the books that was in my book club pick, so there was a chance that we could end up picking this. But also when I saw this in the supermarket, I was like, I want to read this, despite the fact they might not come up in the book club or whether. And that's Michelle Obama telling her story. Then I have actually a self-published book, and this is Gothikana by Ronix. And this is basically a dark academia story, and I think it's about this girl that she loses her mother, but she's accepted by this prestigious remote academia, and I don't know if I guess it's for supernatural creatures. I don't know if she's a witch. I don't know why. I remember someone saying that she was a witch, but I might be actually wrong, so I will let you know once I read these, and I like the format of these. So she's going to this school or something, and when she's there she meets this part-time professor who's broody and fascinating, and their worlds collide. So this is a dark academia romantic adult only, I believe, romance, and I've not read one of these in ages, and they don't appeal as much as they used to before, but I've heard great things about these. I am curious to see if my passion that I used to have for more romantic, dark, gloomy fantasy stories can be ignited again, and if this is the book that does it. Then I got the third book in the Maltan Book of Empire series. This is Memories of Ice. I have read the second book in the series in August. It took me all August to go through this, so I've not read this, but this, all I know is that takes place at the same time, just with different characters in another side of the world. That House Gate do. So it's kind of basically parallel story to the second book. I've read Gardens of the Moon ages ago, but it's an epic fantasy where you follow a bunch of characters and you've got that world on the brink of war, and there are different factions, and you just follow around the mess and the wars and the winners and the losers and the magic, and there is a lot of world building, but I really like the style, and for how chunky these books are, they're very entertaining, so we'll definitely continue on. Doing this with a cough, it's a nightmare. I'll keep going. The Last House on Needle Street, which is a horror. I've heard people say it's more a thriller than a horror, but as of now, I'm just gonna say that's a horror in theory. And it's about this guy who was accused of being the perpetrator of homicide of a girl some years before, and then we don't know if he actually was or if he wasn't. We just know that now he lives in a house with his daughter and a cat, and someone moves in next door, and I think a lot of things from the past starts emerging. So I've heard about this book that there is like a mind-blowing twist in this, and by just reading the synopsis, mark my words, I think I know what it is. And I'm gonna make actually a film right now that I'm not gonna post, of course, of me predicting the big twist. And then I'm gonna add that to my review when I read these, just kind of say, was I right, was I wrong? So I'm gonna, of course, put all the spoiler warning all there so people will know. But I am gonna guess in a second. You're just gonna see me speak about the next book. But I said that, and I loved the premise of these. I love it. A lot of people love these. A lot of people had controversial or different opinions on these, and definitely want to make my own and then decide for myself. I've got Punching the Air. This is a stunning book. Like, look at this aesthetic of this. This is a YA, and it's about this boy. He's in an elite art school. One day becomes involved with an altercation and is accused of a crime that he actually didn't commit, and he will have to turn to his art to survive this ordeal that he's going through. And again, I've heard amazing things about this. It sounds like it's gonna be a very tough, impacting read. It's written mostly in verses, I believe, and I've loved YA books of the same sort that are denunciating a lot of biases and a lot of injustices that are going on in today's society, and by doing it by using verses. And so looking forward to this. I'm probably gonna love this so much. Then this is a book that actually came in the Fairyloot, but it wasn't a special edition or anything. It was just a second book in one of their boxes, and this is Beast of Prey. However, it's an exclusive cover, I believe, and it's signed. And I don't know anything about this apart from the fact that it's about a girl, that she's a zookeeper, and in this zoo there are very dangerous mystical creatures, and one day she accidentally set fire to the zoo, and then you follow another boy who's an elite, or is about to become an elite warrior, and somehow their world collide. I don't know if maybe some animals escapes from the zoo and they have to team up to capture him again before he destroys humanity or does a lot of damage. I don't know, I'm assuming. But I love the cover, love the premise. Like, I'm loving the idea that it's about a mythological zoo with super dangerous, weird creatures. I'm here for it. Then I have The Last Argument of Kings by Joe Abercrombie. This is book number 3, I think, in this trilogy, and I was looking to buy the same matching covers for it. And you follow a bunch of characters in the first book, which is the blade itself, and the first book was okay for me. Didn't blow my mind, but I definitely want to continue on. There is one of the evil characters in the first book that we follow that's absolutely so fascinating. So you follow around 4 characters on the first one, and some of them are good characters, some are great characters, some are blatantly evil characters, but they all have at one point to kind of collide and work together for like a higher goal. And I really like some of those characters, and I love Joe Abercrombie writing style in general, so I wanted to continue on, and I purchased the third book, sorry. Then I bought this used, but I thought initially it was in the charity shop, but no, I bought this used on Amazon. The Good Daughter by Karen Slaughter. I've heard so many stunning things about this author, and I do love thrillers, and I don't understand how come that as of now, I've not read one of her books yet. So I want to start with one of the most praised one, which is The Good Daughter. This is the story of these two girls, and when they are little, there is a break-in in the house, and their mother is brutally murdered, I believe, and they witness the attack, and of course there's a lot of trauma attached to that. And 28 years later, one of the two girls has become a district attorney, as her father was back in the days, and she's coming across a case that was very similar to what happened to them 28 years previously. And so I guess she goes on a mission to find out what happened to her family and her mother. This is happening. I want to read one of her books. I've heard, though, that they're very graphic and very violent thrillers, which I'm okay with, but let's see how I'll take these. Then I've got probably one of the most anticipated, like one of the things I want to read the most among all this stack, and this is Razorblade Tears. And this is a fairly recent book, I believe 2021 came out, and this is the story of these two fathers. One is black, one is white, and their sons, they were dating and they were then brutally murdered. And I think the fathers, they initially didn't like each other or didn't have a relationship with each other, and they come from very different background. They have now to team up together and find the murders of their sons. So yeah, it sounds like it's gonna be a hard one, but I'm a big fan of noir stories and these kind of stories. Like I love Lansdale, the Happy Letters series and so forth, and I don't know why, but this is giving me those kind of vibes. I thought this is much darker and with a much sadder premise. I'm so looking forward to reading these. Then I have Spiral. This is the sequel to Ring. I read Ring for my Reading 10 Japanese horror books in 2021, and I probably will wrap that up in 2022, at the beginning of 2022. I still have one book to read, but I liked Ring enough that I wanted to continue on, and I think it's a quartet as of now, and I want to have matching covers, but they're very expensive, so I took some time with acquiring the second one. And Ring is the famous book from which the famous movie then was adapted. And in the first book, Ring, you follow basically a journalist that trying to find out what happens to his niece after she went on a retreat with her friends. They did something and all of a sudden they all died at the same time. And I don't want to spoil anything in case you're not familiar with The Ring, but you probably are, so you know where this is going. But yeah, this is the sequel. I'm pretty sure that this is not a companion, but like the plot overall is not continuation from the first. Like it's slightly different, but with some elements from the first one. But I might be wrong, I'll find out. And then I've got Where the Crow, I cannot pronounce this, Where the Crawdads Sing. This is a book that received a lot of praises a few months ago, I believe, and I was just so curious. It sounds like it's a historical fiction, but I am not sure if it's actually more thriller or whether, because actually it's about this girl that she is kind of growing up on her own in the marshes in North Carolina in 1969, and then she's kind of a recluse and people have like formed legends, and she's seen as this feral creature that lives in the marshlands on her own. And then one day one of the famous boys in this town is found dead, and they think she did it. I don't know why someone who lives in the wild would automatically be considered a killer, but anyway, so she's accused. I don't know if she's then brought to town and people start actually to get to know her and see that she's not what they thought she was, and there are probably a couple of love interests there. I don't know, it doesn't sound like it's heavy on romance, but then the synopsis gives you the idea, but the feedback I heard, it wasn't. So I'm very curious, and I will probably be able to give you a better synopsis once I have read it, but I am very much looking forward to this. Then I have two books that I bought together, but they are not matching, and I'm actually getting rid of one of them. But these are The Once and Future Witches, which is a fantasy novel, and it's about these three sisters that are separated after tragedy struck, and they are in hiding because now witchcraft has been banished. So they need to hide and to survive, and then one day, for a series of events, the little one brings them all back together, and they have to fight back and actually use their powers to do good. And I've read these from a book club, liked it enough, loved the writing, but the plot wasn't the best. in my opinion, and so I don't need to keep it. So I made the order because I needed these for my book club, but it came together, it was just cheaper buying them together with the 10,000 Doors of January, which is the first book by the author. And this is more historical fiction with a kind of magical realism book, for what I gathered. It's about this girl that finds a book that tells this story about these different doors that you can open, and then you get in, like, to participate in other people's stories. So I don't know if it's like a key that gets you in the book and then you can leave the plot of the book, or it's completely different. Since I have it, I'm gonna give this author another try and see if I like this more. If not, I can always sell these too. Then, on the similar premise of jumping in other stories, I got The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. I've read stuff by him, both non-fiction and fiction, loved them, and this had such amazing praises that I had to read it, and I acquired it, but I've yet to read it. Surprise, surprise. And this is about this woman. She had a rough life, and she is on the last day of her rough life, and she is all of a sudden transported to this library where she gets to live all her life if she had made different choices. Sounds an amazing premise. It's not actually, I thought it was way longer, and I'm really curious to read this. Then a cover by, which doesn't have basic synopsis, is The Gilded Ones. And can we, right? Like, this color, this cover, it's so stunning. I don't know, I just know this is a YA fantasy. I mean, I remember people holding this, but I don't remember them reading and giving me feedback. But I'm gonna read it for myself. I mean, I'm gonna read this book, and I'm gonna keep this book, because, I mean, I don't need to explain, right? The last two books that are not in boxes. So I have If It Bleeds, by Stephen King, which is kind of disappointing in the sense that I bought this thinking it was a standalone, and instead it's like a fifth book in Mr. Mercedes series, I believe. So I've read the first 3 books, and I think then I have to read The Outsider, and then I can read these. And so I had skimmed read the synopsis, but I don't want to get too much into it because I don't want to be spoiled for book number 4, which I've yet to read. I'm pretty much sure that it's kind of, you can read it alone and it's self-contained, but still, I'm kind of OCD when it comes down to series, so I need to go in order. So I will acquire the next book in the series, read it, and then move on to these. And then I've got Hamlet, which I'm probably butchering. For the synopsis, I think this is about these twins, and one is a girl and one is a boy, and the boy wakes up one morning and he's very sick, and he's on the basically he's on his deathbed. They're just them two in the house, and she doesn't know how to reach her mother or the famous father in time for them to come back and be there when Hamlet, the boy, dies. And then Hamlet becomes one of the most famous character from his father plays, and I think this is sort of the story of Hamlet and the sister. So it's more about, not as much about Shakespeare, about his family, so his wife and sons and daughters, I believe. And I've heard amazing things about the writing of these, but also I don't know much about Shakespeare and family in general. So I'm really curious to read these and receive praises, prizes, you name it. So let's do the boxes. So I got these ones, and then, ooh, they're falling on the floor, and then I got one final big box on the floor. So let me put them down and then open one each. I still have to receive one box, but it's not been even dispatched, and I really didn't have time to wait for it. So first, and I just bumped my chin with it, trying not to give away my address because, you know, creeps. Let me see. Oh, okay. Very happy with this. This is Dowry of Blood. I'm opening it like if it's a surprise. I bought it for myself. This is something that has been going around all over booktube, so I'm pretty sure you might have seen it already. But this is Dracula's story, but told from the perspective of one of his wife. I heard that this is lyrical, beautiful, and probably sapphic as well. I'm not sure. I've heard something of a sort. Love the cover. Considering how much I love Dracula, I think I'm gonna love this. I mean, there are all the premises for which I should love this. It also came with a lot of discounts of things I don't really need. and it also came with a bookmark. Somewhere inside all of us is the power to change the world. So the next one, that never works out well, does it? Oh, it's a big one. Oh, From Blood and Ash. So the hype got to me. Like everybody was speaking about this, and I got curious. Okay, first of all, Armentrout is someone I've read before, loved before a series. I think she writes what I call guilty pleasure YA fantasy romance books, and I have been in the mood for it. Like I've recently read more YA than previous months, and I've enjoyed them all. And I know that there is like a heavy element of romance in this, but I am actually happy with it. I'm actually looking forward to ignite again the love I used to have back in the days. I've heard amazing things about these, and so I wanted to try. I didn't know it was so big though. Like this is massive. I'm not complaining. This one, I don't know, I've made 3 orders. One was from Waterstone, but some of that order is missing. Bordery and Amazon as well. And of course, I cannot open the box. Yes, I can. Let's see what's inside here. Oh, we got multiple books. Okay, let me take them out properly because I don't want to ruin them. Okay, I didn't even remember one of them. I suck so much. My memories. Okay, so let's start with this. I wanted to acquire this book forever, and then I finally did. The Shadow of the Gods. This is the start of a new series, and I've heard so great things about this. This is a Nordic inspired fantasy, which is yes please. And you follow 3 different characters, and they are living in this world where the gods have basically become extinct after fighting each other, but they left behind their bones. And I think if you can get powers from their bones, so of course the bones become something that everybody wants, and I guess wars are fought over it. Honestly, I didn't hear one person saying that they didn't like this book. Like, I don't think I've heard someone giving this less than 4 stars or 4.5 stars. So I'm really looking forward to start this series. It's a pretty new series, so if I catch up with it, I should be able then to follow with it. And I'm pretty sure there are dragons, so I need my epic fantasy. Like, I'm feeling like I miss them so much lately. And then the other book in the order was Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune, which is an author I absolutely love and adore. And I almost acquired the signed edition from Waterstone, but then I'm not the biggest fan of signed books. Like, I would not spend too much on a signed book. I don't know why. I'm just not, I don't know, it's just me. But even people like, if I see someone famous, I would probably not go and ask for an autograph. I don't know, that's just me. I'm a bit, I am like that. Maybe because I'm shy and weather, so I never became like a big fan of having signed things. Not complaining about my Fairyloot that are signed. It's a nice edition. I just wouldn't pay £5-10 more to get a signed one. I would pay £10 more to get like sprayed edges, but not a signature. This is his new book, and I think it's about this man who finds out that he is actually dead and he's not having it, and so now he's gonna work with death, become death apprenticeship. I don't know. I don't want to know. I could read the synopsis, but I don't want to know. I've not heard feedback on this, so I know. But V. Schwab says Simply Perfect. She's a popular author. She knows better than me, I guess. Love this cover. Okay, I wasn't the biggest fan of hardcovers, but then lately, since I started displaying my books, it's like, yeah, I love hardcovers. Okay, next box. We have, this is an Amazon one. Oh, that was nice and easy. Oh, Songs of the Forever Rains. This is the only book I've bought solely because it was first £5, which, yeah, doesn't hurt, for a new book, and because of the cover. I think this is the start of a series, but I've not seen this book around. I've not heard other people speak about this book, and I like actually acquiring books that they are not recommended by anybody. It sounds like it's a fantasy that I might enjoy. It takes place in this world where it's kind of considered a legend by most people, but then this girl, she lives in this world where there is a king, and it's kind of a tyrant, and so she is going on a mission to take him down, something of the sort. It's a very dense, thick synopsis of this, so I just skim read it. And she has to pose as his potential bride, but then she falls for his son, and they have to work together. Like, it sounds like it's a heavy on the romance side as well, but I don't mind. Plus, all the covers of these books are stunning, and they are so cheap on Amazon. So I'm gonna give it a try. I really hope that it's cheap, not because it's not good. The reviews weren't too bad, so let's see. And then I know what this is, because I had recently read Three Dark Crown. Whoa, that opened very brutally. I'd recently read Three Dark Crowns, and I loved it, and so I went on and purchased the other 3 books in the quartet. These are not in order because I don't remember. So 2 Dark Reigns, 1 Dark Throne, I think it's the 3rd, and then the 4th one, 5 Dark Fates, I believe. Yeah, I've got these, and I've got the first cover that's red, so hopefully it matches. A YA court intrigue fantasy where you got these 3 sisters. One is a poisoner, one is a naturalist, one is an elementalist, so they have different kind of supernatural powers, and they are separated at birth, and they grow up to hate each other because on their 18th birthday or 16th birthday they will have to kill each other in order for one of them to ascend to the throne. And this is something that repeats in a cycle, so every cycle triplets are born, separated, they have to kill each other, and blah blah blah, and one becomes queen, becomes pregnant with triplets, and blah blah blah. So you follow the first book, the queens, the potential queens, I would say, and I loved the first one. I mean, I really enjoyed where it was going. It surprised me, it was full of twists and turns, and I wanted to continue on, so now I have the whole series. Last book before the big box, I know what this is. Just a box. This is like yeah, I've actually already mentioned this book, so we're gonna be quick. Sorry, I'm just dismantling it. And this is a stunning edition of The House in the Cerulean Sea. I've already read this ages ago, I think when it came out. Loved this. This is about the social worker in a world where some children have special powers, and these children are not well perceived by the general population, so usually they are whisked off to orphanages where their powers are controlled and they can stay on the side and not mingle with society. So this guy is a social worker, and is tasked to go and inspect an orphanage where one very peculiar and potentially very dangerous child is kept, and he needs to go there. He needs to decide after a few days spent there if the orphanage can keep going or if it's too dangerous, and if it needs to be shut down. And I mean, I love this edition. I'm so happy. Like, Waterstone, so expensive, but also so worth it sometimes. I just need to take off the sticker, but then you're gonna leave a mark. I think it's the same. Like, same, simply perfect. Like, I mean, she could have she could have chosen a different comment for the books, or maybe the editors could have chosen a different comment from, you know, 2 different stories. I mean, I appreciate the visual, but you know, a bit of diversity there. Loving this so much. I'm in love. I'm honestly in love. I think I'm gonna end up this video and I'm gonna stare at this cover for a while, just because I can. Sorry guys, I'm gonna insert a clip because actually I received one book more. It's something that you've seen a million times. It's an exclusive Waterstone edition, and it's very popular at the moment, so you do know what this is, but I still wanted to show on camera if I can open it up. Oh, here we go. Okay, so sneak peek. And it is Dune, and it's the special edition by Waterstone. And I've not read these. I want to read these before I actually watch the movie. And yeah, you might have seen these around a lot, but I couldn't. I mean, if I have to read this book, it has to be this edition, right? Can we? Thank you. big box. I already opened this because I needed to take out Know My Name. So this is something I bought from Wondery, I believe, a few months ago, and I got 4 books in these. So no, 5 books, used to be 5 books. So Know My Name by Chanel Miller wasn't there, and then also this we already talked about this, which is book number 2 in the series by Joe Abercrombie. So I just showed you The Last Argument of Kings. This is book number 2 before they hanged, and I want to have matching covers, and now I have, which is a bit senseless because I keep my bookshelves with color palettes rather than series, so we're gonna become separated anyway. So, and then I have The Fat Lady Sings. This is a book that I discovered through my book club when I was doing research for picks for my book club. Literary fiction about these 2 women that live in a mental health hospital, and they're become kind of best friends, and at one point they are retelling their histories and why they ended up there, to each other or to a therapist. And I was so fascinated by the premise. I love the cover, and I am just truly looking forward to reading this. Then I have a classic, Wuthering Heights. I mean, do I have to explain? First of all, I'm not going to give you a synopsis for Wuthering Heights. Like, I've not read these. I don't even know exactly the specific synopsis for these, but we all know what this is about, even if we don't know. Does it make sense? Love these editions, and the pages are like plastic. Oh, I don't know. I'm in love. I'm in love. I don't think I have another book apart from like coffee table books that have like these kind of plastic pages. I didn't know that. I had not opened it up. Oh, now like my love has doubled. And the last one is a very popular book that's going around lately, both because of the controversy that attached to the author, but also because of the beautiful Illumicare edition that came out very recently. I have Empire of the Vampire by Jay Kristoff. Don't know anything about these apart from the start of a new series by him, and it's the story of this vampire. And I think it's also queer, but I don't know. And this is illustrated, and I didn't know that. It just made this book even better looking than it is. I don't know the story because I've not read it, and I've not heard people wrapping this up yet, so I don't know what if I'm not gonna love it or not. I'm gonna give you a better synopsis and my review of these once I've done with it. I am aware of the controversy, and you can find plenty of videos online discussing this and why he's a controversial author and what he did and what he said, and so I'm not pretending that's not there, but I'm not going to address it, especially in this video that's already so long. If you want to have a discussion about this, we can do this in the comments down below. But I am personally someone who can recognize problematic authors but can separate the art from the artist, if it makes sense, to certain degrees. And in this case, I decided I do want to read this book. It doesn't mean that I agree with what the author is saying or whether a problematic thing is going about or that I take his side at all. Just to clarify this very briefly. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you found some inspiration for the book you want to acquire next. Let me know if you have any beautiful edition, you're aware of any beautiful edition of books that are coming out or have come out that you think I might enjoy. Let's chat in the comments down below. I'm gonna let you go because this was so long and my voice is literally giving up on me. So thank you guys for watching. Take care of yourself. I'll see you next time. Ciao.